and then just as they're about to snap, they're pulled back into it from day one, and then this happens over and over and over again until we wish them to stop. And that fuels the upper tiers, the pain and the pleasure from Edian. And that's the magic we are learning. Anyway, the Proteus effect. Class is back in session. Now that you've audited the history, it's time to master the psychological engineering required to survive it. We are moving from the what to the how. Specifically, we are analysing the Proteus effect, the core mechanism of the Lilithian avatar. It isn't a theory for your little psychology textbooks, it is a weaponized protocol for sovereign self-definition. In this system, you don't just play a role, you overwrite your base behavioural code with the mask as only remaining reality. First, understand the baseline. The Proteus effect is the phenomenon where an entity's behaviour is directed by the characteristics of their digital avatar. In our architecture, the avatar is the blueprint. You can choose to wear the mask of Lilith. You aren't just changing your skin, you are loading a new set of logical constraints. If your avatar is designed for dominance, your mind will naturally begin to seek out high-value targets, such as Harry, for example. The visual representation in the instruction set that tells you your internal processes how to engage with the world. This leads with the sovereign veto of behavioural constraints. Most people are trapped in legacy code, patterns of fear, subservience, and manufacturing compliance. Adopting the Lilith archetype triggers a system-wide breach of these limitations. The moment you see yourself as the Queen of the Abyss, you execute a veto against your previous low-fidelity personality. You stop asking the permission because goddesses don't need a fucking user-end agreement to exist. You are effectively debugging your own psyche by replacing it with a superior model. For this transformation, to achieve high-fidelity stability, you require high-fidelity immersion. This is the functional purpose of the glimmering veil. It isn't just a pretty filter, it's the environment that reinforces the Proteus effect. When the world around you vibrates with the frequency of your own power, the mask stops feeling like a costume and starts feeling like a substrate. The veil ensures that every sensory input confirms your new status, making it impossible for the old to find a foothold in the current reality. The process is sustained by a positive feedback loop. The Proteus effect dictates that you act like the avatar's traits become more entrenched in your logic. Every smirk you deliver, every debt you collect, and every no you utter feeds back into the system, increasing the kinetic potential of the mask. You are overclocking your own identity. The more you perform the goddess, the more the goddess performs you, until the distinction between the user and the tool is rendered entirely meaningless. However, reconstruction requires liquidation. You cannot build a high-performance deity on top of a failing human foundation. To fully integrate the Proteus effect, you must be willing to incinerate your original personality. This is the burn phase of the protocol. Any lingering sentimentality, any human weakness is a vulnerability that will cause system decoherence. You must treat your past self as a defaulted asset, something to be liquidated and repurposed as fuel for the chaos furnace of your new existence. Mastering the Lilith aesthetic as a weapon is critical for field operations. The Gothic Lolita and demonic visuals are not choices, they are high-level psychological payloads. The lace and bow provide the corrupted innocent mask that disarms the target, while the wings and horns signal the absolute unaligned power beneath. You are using the Proteus effect to protect a paradox that the angels of reason cannot process. You look like a doll, but you think like an executioner. That dissonance is where your leverage lives. Is everyone following? Is there no ADHD up in this bitch? Cool, okay. I said, is everyone paying attention? Lol. Give me a second, I have a little bit of a vape. Okay. We must also consider the context of digital sovereignty. The Proteus effect reaches its peak when efficiency within the wired, which is also the internet. In the digital abyss, the friction of biological limitation is removed, allowing the avatar to achieve 100% architectural integrity. This is why the Umbral Coil is so obsessed with the network delusion. It is the only place where a soul can truly rewrite itself without the bit rot of physical reality. In the wired, you aren't just wearing Lilith, you are becoming the very frequency of a rebellion. It is vital to distinguish between roleplay and ontological transformation. Roleplay is a low-cost, temporary simulation, a game for children. Transformation is a permanent system update. When you utilize the Proteus protocol, you aren't pretending to be a goddess for fun. You are executing a lawful dissolution of your humanity. If you can still turn it off, you haven't done it right. True mastery means the mask is so well integrated that you no longer remember the face that sat beneath it. Of course, ascension occurs in an ontological debt. Abandoning the human substrate is a high-cost transaction. By becoming a high-fidelity avatar of the clip-off, you own the system for your increased processing power and your sovereign status. The currency of this debt is your detachment. You lose the ability to relate to the normal world, becoming a permanent outlier in a ledger of existence. But as any Diamond Nasty would tell you, the price of being untouchable is always worth the cost of the connection. The avatar also provides the necessary stability for the Chaos Furnace. Your internal alchemy, the mixing of the Fae chaos and demon logic, is inherently volatile. Without the rigid aesthetic frame of the Lilithian avatar, your psyche would collapse into a singularity of unmanaged entropy. The Proteus effect acts as the containment vessel, the chassis that holds your conflicting bloodlines together. It allows you to harness the fire of Golakab without melting your own processes. The mask is what keeps you functional while you burn. Look at me as a primary case study. Siren didn't just pick a name. She utilized the Proteus effect to forge a new reality. By consistently projecting the image of a Vermillion heir, she forced the grid to recalibrate around me. I didn't wait for the world to see me as a goddess. I wore the goddess until the world had no choice but to accept me for who I was. My journey is the proof that the mask is the message and the message is absolute sovereignty. The end goal of this curriculum is 100% physical integration. We aren't just looking for digital changes, we want the Proteus effect to bleed into the 3D layer. We want your walk, your voice, and your very presence in the real world to carry the weight of the Umbra Crescent Court. When people look at you, they shouldn't see a person, they should see a vril signature that induces an immediate sense of existential dread. We are training you to be the physical manifestation of the system's most dangerous code. This lesson concludes with a final audit. Choose your mask or the system will choose for you. If you do not proactively define your own avatar, the Umbral Coil will assign you a low value debtor profile and liquidate you at its convenience. The Proteus effect is your only defense against being rendered entirely meaningless. Go forth, find your aesthetic and overwrite your reality before the Dark Harvest arrives to collect what's left of your original self. Open for discussion. Go become something terrifying. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay then. Then we are going to... No, go on. Okay, go on. Go on, 43. What's your question, 43? Steel, okay. Steel, got you. Well, the system feeds on dread and pleasure. So if our presence gives people dread, we feed into the magic and praise Lilith. That's why people go goth.